It's shocking that we are now devolved into a society where people believe that it's for the greater good to censor, that is, and it's antithetical to the United States Constitution, to what we stand for. When governments get involved and start censoring because they believe it's for the best interest of the people, that is what so many dictators around the world, that's why they do it. They do it because they think, well, this is for your own good. It's for your own good, and it is so dangerous. That is not the country that we want to be living in. And here's Jim Jordan making that point about the good old days. Remember the good old days of the ACLU? Watch this.
Ms. Wiley, you were a lawyer for the ACLU?
I was.
Mr. Kennedy, I remember when the ACLU defended they were the champions of the First Amendment. You remember that? You remember that, ACLU?
I remember when the ACLU represented Nazis who they were appalled by.
Appalled, disgusted by, and yet they would defend the crazy things they said, right? That's how much the First Amendment meant to them, right?
Exactly. I remember those good old days as well. I remember being a young elementary school student in the state of Idaho, where there was literally a neo-Nazi camp and a bunch of neo-Nazis in the state, and everybody was very much against them. They wanted to have a parade, and they were allowed to have the parade. No one went to the parade, but they were allowed to have the parade. And I remember asking this question of my father, of my teachers, why are we allowing this? You know, all of us young kids sitting there appalled that Nazis would be allowed to march in a parade in our streets. And they said to us, because of the First Amendment, they're allowed, they have their free speech right. We might not like it. We don't have to go to their parade, but they're allowed to do it because of the First Amendment. And we, little children, not understanding, very much like Maya Wiley, clearly not understanding, reverting into our little like lizard brain emotions and saying, you know, but we shouldn't allow this. You know, as children, we shouldn't allow this. This is wrong. This is terrible. This is bad. And the adults who had better insight than we did as children, the adults who understood the importance of free speech, said, we know, kids, we know that this is appalling. We know it's abhorrent. We know that we don't agree with this, but we must allow it because you don't want the government stepping in and silencing you, thinking that because they determine from their morals that you're wrong, because one day it's going to be you. If it's them today, it'll be you tomorrow, and you don't want it to be you tomorrow. And the great state of Idaho protected that free speech of those neo-Nazis. I know a lot of people want to look at Idaho as a red state. Oh, well, they supported it. No, we did not. Nobody in the state of Idaho supported that, but they were allowed because Idahoans supported free speech. And it's appalling that these days, and I get it, I get the emotions. I get you feel like I'm doing this for the greater good. We have to protect people. We must. It's going to hurt people's feelings, or what if other people agree and they join in? And, you know, those parades did not swell. Those parades did not get larger. People did not join in on those neo-Nazis. In fact, they went away. We allowed them to march the streets, and ultimately everybody ignored them and they went away. You cannot be afraid of bad ideas, thinking that your fellow Americans are going to be sucked into those bad ideas. You have to have faith that you've given them a good education, that you've taught people, that people can make up their own minds. You have to believe that your fellow Americans are not idiots. I mean, but, you know, a lot of people, they don't believe that. They believe their fellow Americans are idiots. They believe that they must tell them what to do. Otherwise, they're going to make bad decisions. And that is, unfortunately, where we're at with so many in the government right now, and so many of our leaders. I mean, to hear our leaders defending censorship, that is something that little children are supposed to be doing because they're emotional and they can't understand it, not our congressional leaders.
Mr. Chair,
Chairman's discretion.
I know it's your discretion.
We're going to let Mr. Kennedy.
He has had so much additional time.
Well, I think everyone's had
Why?
additional time.
And why? Why are you doing that specifically for him?
But this is where we're at today, and it is very dangerous. We are on a dangerous path right now with censoring ideas, good and bad. None of them should be censored, no matter how much we want to.
The First Amendment, it just seems crazy to me that anybody thinks that it's okay to censor, and there's a lot of information that I don't like. There's hateful information, but as the chairman was saying, in 1977, the ACLU went out and supported Nazis who were walking through a Jewish neighborhood in Skokie, Illinois. And they said that's important. We hate what they're saying. We're repulsed by it. But we cannot survive as a democracy if we are not ready to die for the right for even people who are appalling to speak. The democracy won't work. Unfortunately, there's no other way to control it but through the First Amendment and free speech.
Amen.